Mike Coppinger here with The Ring with Romero, who's going to be fighting in Times Square on May 2nd against Ryan Garcia in the main event of Fatal Fury, City of the Wolves. We're here at the Salas Boxing Academy in Las Vegas, just weeks away from the big fight. Rolly, thanks for being with us. You know, you look super sharp in there. You're looking explosive. This is going to be your first fight at 147 pounds. How do you feel?
About time. About time I move up to 147. And it's crazy. I've been saying that, they asked me when I was at 35, when both me and Ryan were at 35, if we'll fight at 35, right? And I'm like, nah. And they're like, 140. I'm like, hell no, fuck that division, fuck that no-name division. And, I said we're going to fight at 147. It's going to be one of the biggest fights in boxing history. And look at this, man. Times Square, man, something that's never been done before, open to the public, so.
Yeah, I mean, obviously this is historic, right? You say Times Square, one of the most historic and iconic places in the entire world, really, not just the United States. And then we have one of the most charismatic fighters in the entire sport, and Ryan Garcia, who is looking to come back. It's going to be his first fight in a year, obviously following that Devin Haney suspension. What do you think about getting Ryan Garcia off of that? That was pretty big.
We needed a big fight, the fight that's going to sell, and me and Ryan, we had the build-up going on for years and years, 8 years now to be exact, April 18th, I think, was the day that me and him sparred. I think it was April 18th was the day that we sparred the last time, yeah.
Yeah, there's been a lot of talk about that sparring session. How do you remember it going?
Oh, man, I whooped his ass. But, it's sparring, man. That shit's long, long ago, He a different fighter, I'm a different fighter, and, well, we're going to see what it is.
But look, obviously, that was Ryan Garcia's best performance by far. He knocked down Devin Haney 3 times. He gets the win. And then, of course, tests positive for the PED, suspended for 1 year, ton of controversy. He's getting into trouble outside the ring. And now you're going to be the first fighter after that. What is your take on the whole Ryan Garcia situation, from the suspension to the being overweight, 3 pounds?
They can say whatever they want about the PEDs or whatever, man. It was more than anything though, him being like that, them extra pounds, like they help you a lot, especially when you're already dehydrated down, So, that probably did more damage to, and also, there's no fear with Devin because Devin don't have no power, Devin doesn't punch hard, and then they fought 6 times in the amateurs. They know each other really well. In and out the ring, they were friends for a while, so there's a lot more going on where they know each other, than just boxing.
Look, obviously you were a massive puncher at 135 pounds. You had that great knockout of Anthony Yiggett a couple of years ago. Then you've been fighting at 140. Now this is gonna be your first fight at 147. And we've seen some fighters lose their power and some fighters gain their power. To me, you look better at 147 than ever before. What's the biggest difference you see in the camp?
I don't have to stress myself out to make weight, and I can actually eat, I'm not losing muscle mass, and I feel like, especially in my last few fights, that even when I fought Yiggett, I was already losing muscle mass. If you listen to my post-fight interview in the ring, right after I fought Yiggett, I'm like, I want to fight at 140. Because at that time I was already killing myself, and then I fought Tank. I was done. So by the time I fought Tank, which was a whole year after Yiggett, it was, I was already a 40-pounder, and then by the time I eventually fought Barroso, who I got on a late replacement, I got him on a 2-week replacement, a crazy Venezuelan dude that punch hard, Well, I was originally going to fight Puello. I should have been at 47 already. You got to listen to your body when it tells you to move up.
We're here, obviously, at the Salas Boxing Academy in Las Vegas, and Ismael Salas is one of the most highly regarded trainers in all of boxing. What do you think makes him so great and makes your partnership with Salas work?
You see all them world champions up there?
It's a lot.
He doesn't train every single one of us the same. He trains us all differently, I always tell him, man, you must have been so bored before I came here because all these people just want to sit here and do nothing and not talk or anything, So, yeah, that's how I feel about that.
Have you always been charismatic and a trash talker since you were a kid? Were you getting into trouble in school, running your mouth and all that?
Dude, if you look at my middle school record, it's like this thick. I had my own seat in in-house, right? In-house was like our in-school detention, right? I beat this kid, the sophomore kid. I was a freshman. I beat the shit out of him, right? And because he got me in this headlock, right? And I told him, let me go, right? And he's like, oh, now you ain't gonna do shit. I was like, let me go. He didn't let me go. I slammed him on the ground, just started stomping him in front of the whole PE class, right? And the girl PE class across, right? And then after that, everyone in school was scared of me because, I beat the shit out of a bigger dude, all stuff. They never really messed with me in school after, like, all that stuff, It was pretty much I did whatever I wanted.
So you're fighting in school, but you didn't start boxing until 17.
But I did judo for 8 years.
Okay, judo.
Yeah, so I was already,
Were you good at that?
I was solid, man. I was a brown belt. The only reason I never got black belts because of my age at the time. You had to be 18 at the time, and I stopped when I was 17. But my sister was a monster. My sister, she probably out of like 300 fights, she only lost like 4 or 5 of them. Like she was really good, like I was always really small in judo, and everyone was like, all right, 'cause I went through puberty really late. I went through puberty when I was like 16.
And what made you transition from judo to boxing?
Well, my dad always wanted me to box, but it was like I was watching the Olympics, right, for judo, right? And like boxing came up, I'm like, it was 2012 Olympics. I remember watching, right, and I was just like, man, I'll fuck these guys up. These guys are scared of each other. My dad's like, nah, you're scared. You wouldn't do this. I'm like, man, these guys don't even, like, but look, they're just touching each other. They don't want to hurt each other, right? They fight like little girls. And he was like, you're too scared. I'm like, the next day, my dad took me to the gym, right? Bruh, I put on the gloves, and this kid had already, like, he had won the national title, all stuff, right? And I went in the ring, I broke his nose, bro. I just, with wild swing, just broke his nose, and then I sparred the next day. I broke another kid's nose. My dad's like, what the hell, right? And he was like, punch me as hard as you can. I'm like, no, you're gonna hit me, right? He's like, no, punch me as hard as you can. I'm not gonna do anything. I punched him as hard. He was like, bro, at that moment, like, he realized he was like, bro, I was a puncher, Because like my dad would like have me and my sister like do mitts, like messing around as a kid, right? But like I'd always just touch it, all stuff. So he never really realized how hard I punched,
And probably, I'm sure you wanted to prove your dad wrong after he told you were scared, right?
Yeah. I was just trash talking, I was always a trash talker, I ever since I learned how to speak, I was trash talking.
Now you're fighting at 147. What would you say is the one meal that you get to eat that you really couldn't eat as much of before? Make it 135 and make it 140.
See, the thing is, it wasn't really about the food, because like if you do it right, you can eat pretty much whatever, It's more about maintaining the power and strength, because if you camp too low and wait too long, you lose all your power, you lose your strength, you lose your explosiveness, you lose all that, Well, like if you're not a puncher, none of that stuff matters. You just, it just messes up your durability, But like if you're a puncher, like it messes up everything for you, So it's more that I could just camp at a little bit higher weight than before.
But obviously you're a puncher, so that should have benefited you a lot, right?
Yeah, of course, Punchers need to move up in weight class. When it's time,
When did you know it was time?
Oh man, I've known for too long. I know for too long. But I just knew. You just know, your body tells you. Your body constantly yells at you and tells you to move up, You're like, man, why do I feel so tired for no reason? I just made way good. Also, I feel tired. Why, But like also, a lot of that stuff also comes down to like, I didn't have a large amateur background, so I never really got to experience, what it's like to move up in weights. While all these other guys, they moved up from being little kids all the way to being, teens, to adults, young adults, to where they're at now, where me, like, it was all new to me.
Yeah, what's the biggest difference that you're feeling right now in training camp as you're punching the heavy bag, sparring? Do you feel more powerful, more explosive?
I just less tired and like less stressed, Even just little things like the rest feels more real, I could do more. I could just do more.
Yeah, you mentioned the Gervonta Davis fight. Obviously, that was the biggest fight of your career by far. He's one of the biggest stars in the sport. You were doing great in that fight. You were up on the cards, I think, certainly I thought you were winning the first few rounds. You ran into a counter shot, but what went wrong in there and what went right, would you say?
Gervonta is a great fighter, man. They don't give Gervonta enough credit for, But like I said, I stopped jabbing and I jumped into a shot, and it happened, between like me just being completely like dehydrated and not being able to, my body gave out on me before then, but also I wasn't as experienced, you go in through my entire career, I was stopping everybody first, second round, I did this faster than everybody else in history. I started boxing at 17. I still did this faster than everybody else in history. And, and that's why I got my title shot so early, because they couldn't find me opponents. They couldn't, and so they had to move me quicker. And, with fighting less rounds also, I didn't have that amateur career, so I didn't have that amount of experience,
Yeah. But now look, all these years later, you walk into the Ryan Garcia fight, you have that experience to lean on, right? Of fighting Gervonta Davis, not just fighting that caliber fighter.
My third pay-per-view, crazy, third pay-per-view. Because, me and Pitbull was still a doubleheader. Yeah. Crazy, my third pay-per-view, and, and many more to come.
Yeah, obviously the Pitbull fight didn't go your way, but your game, you came to fight, and he was throwing some big shots in there. You never stopped.
Yeah. He hit me with that good shot in the beginning of the fight, but like I said, that's another case. It just wasn't my weight class no more. So
what would you say your confidence level is right now as you head into this Ryan Garcia fight?
Are you asking Rolly if he's ever been that confident?
That's a silly question, I know. You tell me though.
No, I don't got to answer it. You ever seen Rolly not confident?
Obviously, people are trying to count you out, right? They're using this as, Ryan Garcia's fighting Devin Haney in October. He has to get past Rolly first.
They can fight. I don't care. They can fight. They can do whatever they want. They can go in the back room and have fun together and all that. I don't really care. It has nothing to do with me. The only thing that matters is me and Ryan Garcia on May 2nd, and whatever he does afterwards, it makes no difference to me. Mm-hmm. So I don't care about that stuff.
We were talking before when you were training. Obviously, you have a great boxing mind. You watch a lot of fights. You break down fighters. What do you think is Ryan Garcia's best attribute?
Ryan Garcia's best attribute, everyone will say his speed or his hook. The thing is, he'll sit down and wait for you to jump in. He sits down and wait for you to jump in. He's a lot more tricky than people give him credit for, Because they see him do a lot of weird stuff, like his weird shoulder roll.
Against Duarte.
But people don't give him enough credit, Like I said, especially, if he doesn't fear you, then, he's going to come at you nonstop, And he's a really good fighter, Especially, like I said, when he's completely confident.
Do you think he's completely confident right now, coming off the year layoff, coming off of all the chaos outside the ring, and obviously has to respect your power, right?
I don't know if he's confident or not. I hope he is, because I want to have the best fight with him. I want to fight Ryan Garcia at his best. I don't want to fight Ryan Garcia, So, but I have a good feeling he's going to come in at his best.
Have you fought outdoors before? This is going to be in the middle of Times Square.
Yeah. March 9th, 2019, StubHub Center.
Oh, of course, yeah.
On the Ugas Porter undercard, I knocked the dude out in 30 seconds.
That's right. I was at that fight,
actually, it was about 43 seconds. I dropped him in 30 seconds, and I got pissed off because he grabbed my leg, so they didn't count the knockdown. And I got pissed off. I was like, after the fight, I was like, nah, man, they put a steak in front of me. I was like, no, I don't want to eat, man. I was mad because, bro, I was like, bro, I could have shaved off 12 seconds. But it was so cold outside that day. It was so cold. It was raining. And then also I fought on 4/20, 2019 too, on the Danny Garcia versus, Granados.
Granados, yeah.
Yeah. That's when I had that, I knocked out, the guy, and put him on the stretcher.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, with a hook. It's crazy, man. They all talk about Ryan Garcia's left hook, but don't talk about my left hook.
Your left hook is scary.
Yeah, my left hook is very scary. I wouldn't want to get hit with one of those.
Look, you have Devin Haney and Teofimo on the undercard. Two other big stars.
I got two undisputed guys on my undercard. That's crazy.
Your undercard.
I know. Who's having a laugh on that one?
And you and Haney have been talking a lot of trash over the years too. Is that a future fight?
No, not me and Haney talking trash to each other. Just me talking trash to Haney. Devin don't speak. Devin's a mute. Nah, he's going to go fight Ryan after this fight, so it don't matter.
You're going to settle in at 147. What are we going to see from you going forward? Is that as far as you go in weight?
Who knows? I might end up at heavyweight.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Heavyweight Rolly?
Heavyweight Rolly.
Tell me, again, you watch a lot of fights. Who would you say is the most underrated and who's the most overrated fighter in all of boxing?
Underrated. Ooh, I mean, I could tell you overrated real quick. Shakur. But like,
Why?
can you name any Shakur opponent other than? I mean, obviously you can't because you're a boxing head. You know, you're in this sport. But like, can anyone in the public name a Shakur opponent other than Oscar Valdez, who's had his jaw broken in 2018, who has been, you know, who isn't a puncher. You know, he can crack, but he's not a puncher. You know. Stylistically, I mean, he's a counter puncher, so I mean, Shakur Wood is gonna beat him regardless, you know. So, you tell me another fighter Shakur's beat, and obviously, like I said, I can't tell you that, but everybody else can tell me.
Right.
Any casual fighter cannot tell me.
Underrated, yeah.
Yeah, I can't really say anything.
Well, tell me this. This is your second mega fight, right? A really high profile fight, pay-per-view main event. How do you feel right now going to this Ryan Garcia fight versus how you felt going into the Gervonta Davis fight? Better place in your life, maybe?
No, because I don't care about all the financial stuff, and you know, as far as like being like better place in like money and stuff like that, nah. Just more mature. Just more mature.
Okay, what do you think is something that's underrated about your game?
Everyone can say whatever they want about me from outside the ring, but everyone that shared the ring with me, they praise me heavy for a lot of different things. They'll tell you I'm a lot different than what they originally thought. So you should ask all of them.